First, we have Senator Alan Anderson sneaking in under the wire, so to speak. We have the chair of the House Tax Committee, Representative Ann Linczewski from Bloomington. We have Representative Tim Mahoney, Representative Pat Garofalo. Senator Metzen was to be here, but I don't think he's arrived. Senator Julianne Ortman, Senator Kathy Saltzman, Ron Danielson, the president of the local UAW, Pat Bianco, a venture capitalist, and his daughter. And tell me your name again.
Grace.
Grace is here as well, yes. David Minkinen, who is with the High Tech Association Board of Directors. Pat Harris with the St. Paul City Council. Harry Melander, who's a member of the Minnesota State Building and Construction Council. Mark Bernardson, who's the city manager at Bloomington. Kurt Hagen, Vice President of Development of 555. And Bonnie McDonald, I don't know if Bonnie's here or not. Bonnie, yes, there she is, from the Preservation Alliance of Minnesota. And their presence here today reflects an interest and an accomplishment in this bill that is going to advance the cause of jobs and economic investment and activity in various parts of our state, in various categories that are in the bill. But let me just step back from all of that and say we're very proud in Minnesota of our great quality of life. People define that differently and value different things, but it certainly includes pursuits like the great outdoors. And for a lot of people, they love to hunt and fish. Other people love sports or arts or culture. And other people get involved in civics and education pursuits. But almost all of that hinges on one cornerstone, and that is for our fellow Minnesota citizens to have access to a job. So their pathway to be able to enjoy most of those other things depends on a job or an economic opportunity. So we need to be doing those things that encourage more job growth, businesses starting in our state, more economic activity and investment in our state, and this bill takes a very significant and important step forward in that regard. The bill in the current biennium features about $32 million in tax cuts, credits, and incentives for activities, economic activities and job growth that we'll describe more in just a moment. And in the next biennium, nearly $70 million of tax cuts, credits, and incentives with those goals in mind. I won't go through the whole bill, but I'll highlight just a few of the key categories and principles, starting with something that I know most who are assembled here this morning have worked on for many years, and that is the so-called angel investment tax credit. You know that most of the job growth in our country and in our state comes from early stage companies, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and there's a particular premium on trying to encourage money in that infant stage where angel investors participate and they come in and help these businesses get started, or in their very early stages sustain them so they can hopefully get to the next level. This bill contains a 25% refundable income tax credit for qualifying investors and investments under the banner of the angel investment tax credit. We'll have Pete speak about that more and the importance of that from a venture capitalist standpoint in just a moment. Importantly, the bill also enhances Minnesota's research and development tax credit. So it doubles the tax rate, for example, from 5% to 10% for that credit for R&D activities up to the first $2 million. That's a significant change, and there are other improvements in the R&D tax credit as well in the bill that will encourage more Minnesota companies to make more investments in research and development, which we then hope will be commercialized in our local area and in our state and lead to more jobs and more economic activity in the future. We're also hopeful, still hopeful, that the Ford plant in St. Paul will continue to operate and make vehicles in St. Paul. Pat Harris is here, and he and the St. Paul team, Mayor Coleman and many others, I know, share that hope and that dream. We want to put as many tools in the toolbox as possible to incentivize Ford to make that decision. This bill takes a Jobs-E-style approach to the Ford plant in St. Paul with some customized features of it, including a jobs credit that's included within that, but it does require up to $100 million reinvestment in the plant by Ford to make it more modern and efficient and forward-leaning if they would like to take advantage of this CAR-Z designation, and we hope that they will, and we'll continue to push that also. There's a lot of friends and fans in the room of preserving our historic buildings and structures in Minnesota, and of course they bring such a great part of our Minnesota landscape and our history and our culture, but they also provide jobs. And so the tax credit incentive that's in this bill for the rehabilitation of historic structures is also important and noteworthy, and will create economic activity and improvements in our state. The bill also contains a lot of other important features, and I don't want to skip over them quickly, but there's conservation incentives in the bill. There's some modernization of TIF laws in Minnesota that will give more tools for local units of government to try to encourage economic development and investment. There's some streamlining and improvement of the law that we passed a few years ago relating to the Mall of America, which we hope will inspire and encourage and accelerate the 555's plans to have the Mall of America Phase 2. There's some changes regarding the use of revenue bonds relating to the same project, and many, many other important features. But I'd like to invite forward some of the folks who are so instrumental in getting this bill through. It's a good bill. I'm going to sign it in just a moment. And let me first call forward a friend and somebody who's been working very constructively to make all these pieces fit together, both substantively and in the political process that we have to work with, and that's Chair Lincheski, who's been instrumental in shepherding this bill through a difficult process. I know Senator Bach wanted to be here this morning, but he's enjoying a deserved rest and vacation in a place we won't disclose, but I think he's having a good time, and he'll be back in a few days. Representative Lincheski.
Well, thank you, Governor, and thank you all for coming today. I'll just take a second. I do want to very sincerely thank the Governor and his staff, Senator Poggemiller and Speaker Kelleher, who have worked diligently with me to try to really do a couple of things, which is increase payroll in Minnesota. This bill is all about getting people to work and increase physical presence in Minnesota. We want to encourage folks to get those buildings up, get the construction trades back to work, invest in large and small businesses. And it has been a bill with a lot of compromise, and that's how it gets done here. I just will take you back. My goal last summer and fall was to get a bill that Governor Pawlenty could sign, get an early bill, and not have to have a conference committee. Those three things have been achieved. I know many people in this debate have thought that it would never happen, and then in fact I wouldn't want it to. But that has been my goal. No conference committee, a signed bill, put people back to work, and an early bill. And we've done all that. We're doing this now before the Passover Easter break, and it's just been a delight as always to work with Governor Pawlenty, Speaker Kelleher, and Senate Majority Leader Poggemiller. Thank you.
Thanks. Pete Bianco is a venture capitalist locally, and of course these are such important assets to have in our state, to have individuals who fund these early stage businesses, are willing to take risks, understand the deployment of capital, how that generates job growth and the building of buildings and the commercialization of research and all the activity that comes with it. So he's somebody who has firsthand experience in what incentives for investments in these early stage companies means to our economy, and we'd like him to talk a little bit about what this bill will do.
Thank you, Governor. Hi. The Angel Investor Tax Credit is a watershed moment, I believe, in reinvigorating Minnesota's entrepreneurial spirit relative to economic development around early stage and technology-based companies. It's a very important bill with respect to getting us back on a competitive plane globally, not only with just states around us, but the rest of the world. And hopefully we'll see a stimulation of job growth very quickly with this. I want to thank all of the legislators that were involved, especially Senator Salzman, who really spearheaded this. You know, I worked the closest with Senator Salzman and everybody involved in the House, Representative Mahoney, Representative Lincheski, and everyone. And this really was a grassroots effort on the part of all corners of the state and the business community that really came forward and demonstrated the need for something that's critical to the future of Minnesota. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Pat Harris, we'll have others speak as well, but Pat Harris has worked diligently in St. Paul on lots of job agendas, economic development agendas. I know Mayor Coleman's office has been a strong, good partner with us on the need for putting some additional incentives proactively on the table for the Ford plant. We worked with them as we developed the Car Z proposal. We're grateful that it got into the bill, and I know Pat has shared that passion on behalf of the city of St. Paul, so I'll ask him to share a few words as well.
Thank you, Governor. And on behalf of Mayor Coleman, the City Council, I just want to extend our gratitude to the Governor and to the legislative leadership for what we think is a key incentive to maintaining an important asset to St. Paul and to Minnesota. The Ford plant has been an important part of our community for over 70 years, and this unique effort that has been proposed by the governor and the legislature is a step, I think, to really incent Ford to try and remain in our community, remain the economic engine that it is, remain a partner in our neighborhoods and a partner in our community. So truly, on behalf of the City of St. Paul, I also want to extend thanks to Cecile Bador and Wendy Underwood from our staff for being a part of this, and hopefully this will make a difference and keep Ford operating in our community. So again, thank you.
Great, thank you, Pat. Appreciate it. No, we'll invite others to come forward and share their thoughts as they would like, and then we'll take your questions. But I also want to thank, I know Speaker Keller was going to try to be here this morning. I want to thank her and Senator Poggemiller for their constructive work and leadership on this bill. There was a few wrinkles along the way that had to get worked out, and they were very constructive in their approach, and glad we were able to get that resolved and get the bill in a form that everybody could support, or nearly everybody could support, and I could sign into law. So I want to thank them specifically as well. With that, there's Senator Ortman, as the lead Republican in the Senate. Maybe you want to share some thoughts, or anyone else who would like to step up, please do.
Thank you. This is a very proud moment for members of the Senate and for the state of Minnesota. This bill had 67 yes votes in the Minnesota State Senate, and that's something everyone can be proud of. With the governor's leadership, we were all able to come together and accomplish what is a very great goal for the state of Minnesota: new jobs. We all agree about that, and I wanted to thank the governor for his involvement and his leadership in bringing this forward. We can be proud of the fact that we have consensus in the state about the goals for the state of Minnesota.
Great,
thank you.
Do you want to say a word about the historic preservation portion of it?
Thank you, Governor. On behalf of the Preservation Alliance of Minnesota and our participation in the Building Jobs Coalition, we want to thank the governor and the legislators of the state of Minnesota for making us competitive in the nation and our region now in the rehabilitation of historic preservation projects. Minnesota today joins 30 other states in the nation to stimulate and catalyze the creation of job growth in a sustainable green jobs way by rehabilitating historic properties. We believe that this provision is going to create between 1,500 and 3,000 jobs if we're consistent with the other states in the nation. So we thank Representative Lincheski for her leadership, Senator Bach for his leadership, Representative Kelleher and Senator Poggemiller, and especially the governor for signing this impactful, catalyzing legislation into law today. We look forward to having a landscape with many sustainable historic projects coming in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to say a word?
Sure.
Yeah, please.
I would like to, this is something that I think someone, when they had a different haircut, first proposed about 10 years ago.
You got a different haircut, too.
I did. I had a lot more. This is proof positive that if you persevere in state government has never been meant to be fast. But if you work at it and you work with good leaders in the Senate and the House and the governor's office, we can get a great bill. I want to say a couple words in this fashion. This bill puts a high bar to the investment community. $2 million a month in credits for the rest of this year, starting in June. That's $8 million worth of investment per month. And I certainly hope the investment community reaches that bar, because that creates about 1,600 jobs. The R&D credit for small companies, our large companies in this state take up 87% of that, of our R&D credit. This now incentivizes those small companies to put more scientists, more researchers to work that create a whole lot of other jobs down that line. So this is a great, great bill. I'm pleased to see it done. And I want to thank the governor. I want to thank Chair Lincheski, Speaker, and the Majority Leader in the Senate. This has been a delight to have actually happen. Thank you, Governor.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, please, come on.
So just briefly, I've had a lot of thanks today. Governor, thank you for bringing a great team to the table, because, Commissioner Ines was absolutely critical to this. Also working with Deed's staff were absolutely very helpful. And all of the Biobusiness Alliance, community, the High Tech Association, and Life Science Alley have absolutely been critical, because they have brought their stories to us. So to those out there who are the emerging entrepreneurs, having Grace here today is very important because this is really a bill that is going to produce results for our next generation, for those emerging technologies, for those entrepreneurs who are still at the U of M. So this is really about something in the future. So thank you, Governor, for really making sure that this got done early on in this session.
Great, thanks a lot. Senator?
Thank you so much. And very briefly, I'm excited about this whole bill, but I want to specifically comment on the Ford plant. And along the same lines as Representative Mahoney, this is something that Representative Paymar and I carried this legislation in the House and Senate, and we've been working for several years to try to find a way to keep that plant viable and to keep it in the ballpark nationally as a place for a new company to come or Ford to come and keep producing vehicles into the future. And it's just so gratifying that we could all come together this year and get it done and do it on a bipartisan and bicameral basis because the need for jobs is so urgent right now. And I just have to say, you know, that plant is really special. It's almost 100 years old. It has an award-winning workforce, nationally recognized for its talents. And this bill will give hope to so many people all around the region that there will be jobs at the Ford plant and around the state, of course, with this whole bill. But that Ford plant will be humming with activity for another century to come, I hope, with the help of this bill. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Senator.
Governor.
Thank you.
I represent the American Institute of Architects, and we've been a member of the Building Design Coalition for the past 2 years. And on this beautiful spring morning, we have hope that the design and construction industry will be put back to work and that there will be opportunity for people. And we are excited about the bill and thank the governor and all of our representatives and senators who work so hard, and all of the people, many of whom are in the audience today, for really putting their best foot forward in doing what we think is going to be a great effort for the state of Minnesota. Thank you.
Anyone else? Otherwise, we want to sign this bad boy.
You need to get up closer.
Come on, Grace. Let's get you up here.
Grace, you want to come on in? There you want to sign this? How old are you? 8. You're third grade? Second grade. Do you like school? There we go.
All right.
Thank you, Governor.
Yeah, thank you. You guys, if you want to hang around for a minute, see if these folks have some questions on this bill, and then I'll stick around if you've got stuff on unrelated matters. Go ahead.
In terms of the Ford plan, what kinds of things do you have in mind to try to encourage the company to take advantage of this?
Well, we've been in regular communication with Ford officials about their plans and intent. I think it's fair to say, I don't want to speak for them, that they're sticking with their previously announced plans and timetables. But it's also a company that's going through a lot of change. Their stock price has stabilized. They've got exciting new product offerings. If you look at what is on the market now from Ford, you see the Ford Focus, you see the Ford Fusion, you see the redesigned Taurus, you see their midsize SUV, and of course the continued success of their small and midsize and large pickup trucks. It seems to be a company that is now back on the upswing. So they seem to be transforming and exciting in positive ways. They continue to have in the past extended the life of the plant, which is hopeful and positive, but we'd like to get a permanent commitment about the long-term future of the plan, the reinvestment in the plan, but they're not yet able to commit to that. But we're going to continue to communicate with them, continue to push, continue to offer these incentives, and this CAR Z provision in this bill gives a very competitive and I think substantial incentive to Ford to reconsider its plans relative to that plan. We hope that they will.
Do you have any plans to make a return visit to them?
You know, we're in touch with them regularly, Tom, and they're going through an internal process now about a number of things. You know, the UAW locally is in regular touch with them as well and is a great source for information about Ford's thinking, and Ford, of course, directly comments on these things. But they're in a position where they've asked they want to go through a little internal deliberation as to what their next steps, if any, are going to be. And they'd like us to come talk to them further down the road a bit, but not quite yet.
Governor, what do you think another bipartisan bill signing portends for the rest of the session and having a third of the budget presumably done?
Well, every bit helps, Mary. So these are positive steps and substantial steps. And I think the attitude and the results have been constructive and positive. Earlier this morning signed the budget bill, which addresses a substantial portion of the budget challenge for the state, not all of it. But again, that's another example of my administration and the legislative leaders and the folks, in that case, Senator Cohen and Representative Carlson, Chris De La Forest and our team, they worked through last weekend, got the bill in good shape and got it signed. So I think it represents good work, good progress, and pretty good relations so far.
Do you think an early end of session is possible now? Leaders are talking about it. It's a rare feat.
Well, I think that's going to hinge on a number of factors. I think everybody's interested in that, of course. But one significant factor amongst many will be when we might have a resolution around the federal money. That's not yet resolved. If that crystallizes and becomes confirmed in the near term, it makes an early conclusion easier. If it drags on or is uncertain, then it's a question mark.
Governor, is anybody here from 555 that can speak to one?
I thought somebody from 555. Is anybody here from 555?
Right here.
Right there.
Yeah, come on up. Come on up and commit to $1 billion investment.
Just curious whether the mall plans to take advantage of any of these tax incentives.
Absolutely. We're working with the City of Bloomington as we speak. I got a meeting with them this afternoon trying to figure out ways that we can use these tools to get investment to work as soon as possible.
You've been a little hesitant up till now just because of the economy. Does this make it a little bit easier to get over that hurdle, and will it be a slightly scaled back expansion from what you originally talked about?
It makes it easier. You don't know what you can build until you know what tools you have. And this adds to the toolbox for the City of Bloomington to work with us to decide and work out investments and with investors and proposed developments that can move forward. We've got one that can hopefully move forward as soon as the end of this year, and more hopefully coming next year. But until we work with the city, we've got to work through how these tools will be used. Once we do that, we'll have better plans for you.
Your name?
Kurt Hagen.
Spell for us.
Kurthagen.
Does city want to add anything?
Mark?
Thank you. I'll just cut the deal right here. You guys just why not? Save the meeting this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm sure it's much simpler than the kind of work you have to go through to try to bring the bill together. But thank you very much, Governor, legislative leadership, especially Representative Lincheski. Thank you very much for this bill. It does provide greater opportunities for moving forward with the mall. Obviously, the economy we've been in has not been favorable to either private or public investment. We are working forward. I think this does create those opportunities, but I'm not a politician. I'm a city manager, and so I learned a long time ago it's better to under-promise and over-deliver. And so no promises, but apart from the fact that we're working hard to make this happen in the best way we can, not only for the mall and the people who come to the mall, but for the City of Bloomington, Hennepin County, and the state of Minnesota. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I should again single out Representative Lincheski on this piece because she's been had strong views about this over the years, but played a very constructive role in finding compromise in this debate as well as the one 2 years ago, notwithstanding some tough issues that she held. Anything else? Questions on this?
Governor, a lot of numbers were thrown around on the House and Senate floors about how many jobs this bill could potentially create in total. Do you have any guess as to?
You know, Tom, I'm going to defer on that because the methodology around that and the debate around it is, shall we say, speculative. But it's a good thing. It's going to create jobs. It's going to create investment. We know that's going to yield good things for Minnesotans, for helping people find jobs, grow jobs. It's a very significant positive step for our state. As to how you precisely measure all of that, I'll refer you to the economists who do that for a living.
Hesitancy about the source
No. No, we got that worked out well. And for me, one of the things we're looking at is to make sure there aren't a net tax increase. In fact, if you look at the spreadsheets now and in the upcoming years, it's a net tax decrease. So that's a positive feature from my standpoint. But clearly redeploying that fuels tax credit to these purposes is a higher and better use of that money. This relates to investments in the economy in ways that will be long-term, that will be sustainable, and I think it's a significant improvement in the use of the money.
We got time for one more question, and then we have to wrap it up.
Anything else?
You were talking about the future of this session. How big of a factor will the unallotment decision?
Well, that could loom very large, Tom.
If it goes against you, are you looking to be in here till June?
That's going to loom very large. You guys are going to have other unrelated questions? I'll let these guys get out of here. Is that it? Well, besides that question, you guys had other unrelated questions or no? Just Brian's question on this?
If Brian's got lunch, we can.
All right. Yeah, I got to go give a speech up in Brooklyn Park. On the judicial selection for the new chief, we're kind of settled on a process, but we haven't begun the interviews yet. But we're accepting, people expressing interests, and so we're going through that process of starting it. So the interviews, I think, will take place sometime in the next few weeks or a month, and we'll have a decision about then as well.
Do you personally have a timetable you're looking to meet to make your selections?
We don't have a hard date, but there's some things we got to be mindful of to make sure that the appointment is a proper appointment.
All right.
Don't worry your little head about that. It's all right. Yeah, Brian McClung will brief you. Okay, thanks. Thanks for coming.